This paper is 42 years old. It was printed in 1980 by a guy by the name of Bill Dakota. You can go and you can look up Bill Dakota and you can find a book. He wrote a book after this, and Manson's letters are also printed in there. Not the letters themselves, but you know, the print. You can also read that whole print in his book. Plus a lot of other things in this book too. I want to explain some things about Charles' letter. First of all, as will be shown by his words, he has only a third-grade education. His spelling is very bad, and it's hard for him to express himself on paper. He is in prison in solitary confinement. It's a prison rule that inmates cannot have ballpoint pens in their possession. They're considered as potential weapons. Charles has to write his letters using a pencil or several pencils. There's no pencil sharpeners in his cell. When the pencil wears down, it has to be sharpened by scratching it on the cement floor of the cell. That's why his writing is sometimes thin line and other times the writing is thicker. He is writing under these handicaps. Another handicap is the fact that he is on tranquilizers. Inmates with any type of nervous condition, especially at the Vacaville medical facility where he is, inmates are given Nembutal and Valium and other sedatives and medication. His letter is written under these circumstances, things we cannot comprehend living in a free society. Then Bill goes on to say, after receiving the letter, I decided to investigate some alleged facts. My first call was to Tina Sinatra. There was a mention of Nancy Sinatra's daughter of having been to one of Manson and Dennis Wilson's, one of the Beach Boys music group, beach parties. The tape conversation went like this. When I talked to Tina Sinatra, she asked me for my phone number. Since I had hers, she said we would be even. The call from Frankie was a day or two later, after I talked with Tina and her attorney. He must have known I taped my call since he asked, "You got your tape recorder on?" Frank Sinatra phoned Dakota after Dakota phoned his daughter Tina. The tape conversation went like this. Dakota. Frank. Sinatra. You got your tape recorder on? No, I had another guy on the other line. Don't give me that bullshit. How'd you get my daughter's home phone number? I've had it for 3 months. So I don't care how long you've had it. How'd you get it? Well, Rona Barrett has it. Joyce Haber. I don't care who else has it. How'd you get it? I just have it. I have several home phone numbers. Look, I'm going to tell you something. And I'm just going to tell you once. You understand? Yeah. Tear up her phone number. You understand? Yeah. Tear up her phone number and don't ever call her again. That's what her attorney said yesterday. I don't care what her attorney said. I'm her father and I'm telling you to tear up the phone number and don't call her again, or I'll break your fucking arm. You got that? I'll break your fucking arm. What's this all about? Frank hangs up. The very first thing at the top of the letter, it says, keep letter to yourself. And then it's printed in the newspaper probably a week or so after he got it. And it starts off like this. Be columnist. Yes, I like your letters when I have time, and I have time. I don't like to write, and you don't need to run none of that bullshit on me. Don't talk right around the corner on me. Straight away, just the truth. No more, less. I don't understand you trying to run fear or BS at me yet. I know what you mean. My words was when I was out, my soul is still in prison. Peace of mind. Then there's 3 drawings beside it. All Polanski can say is what the DA said, or what he read somewhere. It would take 44 years for me to explain my 31 years in hallways, cages, its home. No one can know what I know. They would need for them to be me. All he will do is judge himself in me and see reflections of his own fears. I see Sharon, and she never impressed me as being anything but dollars. He bought her mind to get in her body. Okay, before we go any further with Manson's letter here, in the next part of it, it sounds to me like what happened here is, again, it sounds like somebody was, Dakota might have been lying to Manson, telling Manson that he needed to get his newspaper back in print, because this was this was basically the first issue of like a reprint of his newspaper. It went through like, I don't know, 10 papers or something like that. And then, like I said, this is just a reprint of the very first paper that he ever did, really. And it sounds like that Bill Dakota was talking to an inmate friend of Manson's, maybe an associate, maybe a friend, who knows, I don't know, by the name of Mark. So Mark might have gave him information. Mark might have gave Bill Dakota information so that Dakota could then ask Manson the same questions, I suppose. It sounds like that from the way Manson writes this letter, that some other dude from that prison was writing to Dakota to give him information about Manson. And that might have been how this whole thing started. Why Manson even wrote the letter to the paper, because Dakota was already writing about Manson somewhere, or saying something about Manson somewhere, because his papers are full of gossip, and the more you look, the more you find the things about Sharon Tate or Roman Polanski or Helter Skelter or other people that were associated in his papers. So somewhere along the line, he might have written something in there about Manson from this guy, Mark, or Marcus, who was in the prison at the same time with Charlie, feeding information to Dakota to maybe get Manson to initiate this letter in the first place. Okay, let's go on with the letter now. Man, don't get fat on me. No BS. Don't get fat. Look it, I can put myself out front. You can get your paper back, and don't need to say I said nothing. In parentheses, it has Dakota, where Dakota's talking here. I told him we needed a story to get the paper back in print. Then Manson goes on. I never sued no one else. The DA and all that got away with saying anything. Marcus can tell you things he may have thought he heard. I didn't say Elvis was bi or not. Look it. If I sleep with all the girls you sleep with, and we go to bed with 3 or 4 girls at a time, and I check you out and the things that you do, and you check out my strokes, pick up on some of my motions, don't mean I'm bi or you're bi. If I'm in the same dream, but I got a good heart, I can hold that heart in bed. Elvis couldn't fuck over me, but I could. Over any little fat girl in his dream bed, because I earned them when I lived at Tom Mick's old house on Sunset, out by the beach. We had a pool full of naked beauties and strobe lights in the living room, and sex in 5 bedrooms. All the closets had secret doors that go from bedroom to bedroom, plus the guest house. Big bed, pools and shacks, bedrooms, little ones, and mattresses in the living room. A tree house, sex all over the grounds, the rose gardens, under the trees, everywhere. Now Manson asks in his letter, Bill Dakota, I'm forgetful. Who's Mark? And then Dakota writes in parentheses, Mark is an inmate who wrote me stating he wanted to write a book on Manson and wanted me to help him. He claims to have made notes from talking with Charlie when they were together at Vacaville. Bill Dakota, I'm forgetful. Who's Mark? I'm one of the dumb people. Aware, but not smart in human ways. I think more like an animal. Yes, I read the story, Bill Dakota. I'm not easily impressed one way or another. I don't like people enough to care what they think. Not you, because you suffered my sufferings and been through a lot to see and understand me. I know what you do is and will be good because I know you when you are alone and in a cell and see the good of you when nobody else is looking. Neil Diamond used to come over. Mike Love of the Beach Boys, Doris Day's son, Angela Lansbury's daughter Dee Dee, Nancy Sinatra's daughter used to be at the beach pad. And then in parentheses, Dakota has Nancy Sinatra, who he referred to, not Tina. And then Manson goes on. Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys and I lived with 15 or 20 of the best. We kicked Jane Fonda out of that dream because her Jewish boyfriend wanted to bring a black guy to play ping pong with her, and I said, I don't play mixing blood for phony Christians that work for their money selling children. She had a big dog and a crummy camera. And I said, no, I do what I do for love, not money. They had a key to Red Skelton's beach pad. I'd been there before. So I went and fixed the window so I could look in, and they found my peak place. I just wanted to see what they did with the dog and the guy they picked up over at UCLA. I don't think she was playing Stop the War. She was, I think, making some kind of videotapes like Peter Sellers and Yul Brynner, bald guy, were making. Dennis Wilson gave me a $5,000 videotape. TV thing for tapes that fit only in an elite bunch. Porno ring that was worldwide. I heard Polanski got money from dog and children movies to make movies with. I was offered record contracts, movie parts, etc. when I got out of prison. I went to Universal Studios, saw a producer named Stromberg, a phony guy. He wanted me to cut a record with a South African black guy, Hugh Maskela, a big black trumpet and drummer, for a movie. He told me Jews control, and I'd never get any music over unless I did it his way. He was making a movie, he said, about the second coming of Jesus Christ. And he was to be a black, and the police was to cut him off, and the system would get the blame, and they would control the movie minds and take power. I said no. They did it anyway. Jackson was killed in San Quentin, and Abby Hoffman and Jerry Rubin got big power controls. I was a dumbass. I went to Universal, where I parked in Cary Grant's parking lot, and this homosexual came and told me to move my car. I knew Grant was in England, so I told him, and I've had a life experience with homosexuals, so I took him back to the Cary Grant's office that had an apartment, bar, and such. I don't want to say all the things that happened at Universal lot because I like that guy and don't want him to lose his job. That ass, Peter Faulk, and that guy that played James West in Wild Wild West propositioned me. James West also came to the car. I don't fuck with closet queens. There's more, but I can't spell. Like one night, a guy's wife took me to Elvis' pad with big iron gates, and she was begging to suck my ice cream. Elvis' wife came home that night, and when Dennis Wilson came around, he had so many broads, Elvis got afraid, because that little girl had his heart. I could have eaten it there in front of them, but I was playing a front, and I was having all the sex in the back. I could have fucked him. He had a car I wanted, but Terry Melcher gave one of my older running buddies a new XKZ Jaguar for me because he didn't want no one to know about me and his mom. And when Dennis Wilson gave me the Ferrari, my other buddy wrecked it, and we left it and went off to shoot a game of pool, and someone ripped it off. And Dennis Wilson, he's a wonderful person, no bullshit. He got mad at me. He had a phony French bitch running after him, only because she was a star fucker and was fucking Jimi Hendrix. When she asked me to fuck her, I rammed it in her ass and wiped it in her face and throwed her out of the pad because all she wanted was money, money, money. And producer Stromberg destroyed my music. When I seen this conspiracy to do in Jackson, I ran and put a one up over that bed of fools and clowns. BD. I do more on a weekend than most do all of their lives. I'm not into sex porno or selling distorted sex. All sex I do is human, clean and natural. No makeup, no ego fuck, but the God fuck. Everyone I fucked wanted to pray to God. I can say that or toot a horn that everyone will hate me for. Sex paranoia is a heavy trip. But what I do is open, without guilt or hang-ups. It's not human. I can put a woman on like a robe. That's the only stick I had with people I was with. If the woman did right, I would favor them with attention. Most of the men got mad at me because even if theirs is bigger and stronger, my stiff stays up until I tell it to go down. And the emotions I reflect is from movies as a kid. YMCA's, Hollywood Boulevard, Wilshire, Beverly Hills, Malibu, off the top of that, to the ranch with 200 or more people in the bed that went through all the stars. Elvis and a bit more. Elvis had a reputation like Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin had in the 50s. When I had sex on Orchard Avenue, Orange Street, and the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel across from the Chinese Theater. I don't have hang-ups related to sex. BD, others don't have the mind to do what I can. All the hang-ups related to sex, I don't have, and few are free to be in bed like mine. I can build the passion in 30 people and fuck it all to death, and past that. I can put my emotions in them and watch them dance, put my song in them and listen to them sing, put myself in them like looking through their sexual passion like holes in blankets. I shot a guy in Hollywood. Anyway, the guy I shot in Hollywood with that .22 that Tex used later, there was a white girl in bed begging me not to let him kill her over the money. I told him, I don't give a fuck for money, and he yelled and I shot him. And this Mexican dope dealer froze in fear, and I took the shirt from the guy. So I was on top of the money, bed, and sex bed. Luckily, I didn't kill him. I missed his heart because I used my dick, don't know much about guns. My women as a whole haven't let me down. Oh yeah, I feel the woman with me has witnessed and been with me all the way. They, as a whole, have not let me down, and did as well as a woman can. They've been under it also. Red and blue have stood against a lot of women. For what I can see, green and red have been right. When someone is right with me, I must be right back. Red put her life up trying to get me out. And the trip. Most people in the know use fear over women. I didn't do that. I tried to show them their fears and how to keep love over fear. I'm gonna end this. I'll call if and when I can. Send some pictures. And the letter was unsigned. But it was by Charles Manson.